Okay, I'd like to call to order the Bedford Township Planning Commission regular meeting is April 9, 2025. It is 7 p.m. If we could stand up and do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Mr. Andrews, could you do the roll call, please?
Mr. Trombley?
Here.
Mr. Montroy?
Here.
Mr. Dersch?
Here.
Mr. Lake?
Here.
Mr. Mahoney?
Here.
Mr. Andrews is here, and Mr. Helm is excused.
Okay, moving on to item 4, approval of the agenda.
I'll go ahead and make a motion. We approve the agenda for tonight's meeting.
Support. Support, and could you, we'll just, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed. Okay, moving on to item 4, approval of the minutes from March 26, 2025.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of March 26, 2025.
Support.
And support from Mr. Dersch. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed. Okay, moving on to item 6, public comment. Just want to remind everybody, you're welcome to come up and speak. We had our public hearing at the last meeting. You had 5 minutes at that time. Tonight you'll have 3 minutes. So if you want to talk about any of the items, you got to speak now. And again, you have 3 minutes. Address the chair. What else do I need to remind you? Oh, state your name and address for the record.
That's the perfect right now.
Right now.
Is this about the rezoning?
Yes.
It's whatever you want about the agenda.
We could be here more than 3 minutes.
So please step up to the mic.
Well, I'm here about the rezoning, and for those that aren't familiar with the project, I spoke with,
Name and address for the record.
pardon me?
Name and address for the record.
Sorry, I always forget that. Ken Weaver, 3218 Deer Creek Drive, Lambertville, Michigan, 48144. For those that aren't aware, there's a fellow that wants to put the Dunkin' Donut in on Secor Road, which is currently zoned R2B, single family. Been that way for a long time. This individual would like to convert it to C1, multiple use, 1.4 acres out of 10.
Sir, you have to address the chair. Don't look out in the audience. This is protocol. I'm not picking on you.
I understand. Okay, so anyway, board, 196 feet deep or wide by 340. It's 660 by 660. I think this is an issue that, it's certainly not going to add value to anybody's property in the area. And it's going to increase more traffic, more trash. I pick it up every year, half for 11 years, 220 bags with some of my folks here tonight. Once it's approved, which I was shocked, once it's approved, as you probably know, any business can go in there. Anything, once it's approved. That's disturbing. This is the camel's nose under the tent. It's the beginning of the end. Now, the Archdiocese of Detroit owns the property, and they hired Mooney Real Estate, and a fellow from Burr Ridge, Illinois, wants to buy it and turn it for a profit, I'm sure, which is fine. But according to the Manikin Smith conclusions that I read today, I only got them just today, they are not in favor of it. They have recommended a denial for all the reasons that I figured out myself by just living there. It's inconsistent with the township's master plan. Hello. Adverse impact on the nearby residents, that's me and my friends, lack of proper land use transition, negative traffic impact, and sufficient commercially zoned land. Others, we have a number of vacant spots in Lambertville. And if I'm correct, it's going to look something very similar to the Arby's, Tropical Fruit, and the Emergent ER Care, which that's been commercial for many, many years. It was a gasoline station at one point. I'm asking the board not to recommend a change in the zoning. When people buy and build into a neighborhood, they expect certain stability in the zoning in their area. And the fact that Manikin Smith is not in favor of this sure speaks volumes to me. One other question I have, do you vote tonight?
We have plans to vote tonight to either recommend or not recommend to the township board.
later in the meeting, at the end of the meeting, or
Is the next item on the agenda?
that'll be interesting. I understand you need 4 out of 6.
Okay. There's a sheet there where we want you to sign your name, spell so we get your name spelled correctly.
Okay.
You could do that.
Is this part of the 3 minutes?
I
How much
think you
more
still
time do
are
I
under
have?
3 if you do it quick.
Let me work on what I'm doing. I'll sign that later.
All right, so that's 3 minutes.
So I think I hit the bullet points that I wanted to work with. The real issue to me is that it's the camel's nose under the tent. It doesn't have to stay a Dunkin' Donut. You don't want to, I don't want to say what I think could go in there without any consequences. It happens all the time. And this property is going to be there a long time. Now, I realize it's not going to be flower and roses. I've always expected something in there. What would I put in there, or what I think would be good? Well, let's talk with the Catholic Church, since they own it. Maybe a cemetery, maybe a child care. Not just that one little 1.4 acres. I'm talking about the whole 10 acres. That kind of a development. Residential would be preferable, too, since that's what it's zoned for.
Okay.
Thank you.
So yeah, if you could just print your name for Katrina.
I will do
that'd be
that.
Great. Awesome. Is there anybody else who'd like to get up and speak? Just go up and step up to and
I'm writing as fast as I can.
Mr. Chair, I'm going to move the sign-up sheet on the back table, so as soon as they're done speaking, then we can have someone else come up.
Okay, Jody, here you go.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yep.
state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is David Shutt. I live in the Deer Run condominium complex, which is on, as you know, on the east side of Secor. And the main objection that I found that our residents have is traffic. If you lived where we live, you would know that that stretch of Secor Road is a virtual drag strip at all hours of the night as well as the day. And I'd just like to point out that we've had two vehicles penetrate our fence, which is way off the road in the past couple of years. Without any other aggravating factors like a Dunkin' Donuts across the street. One of them actually came right through the fence and right up into our property, only stopped by a big tree. I think that's the traffic is our major concern. It would make it very, very difficult for anybody to even get out of our development. And of course, the Dunkin' Donuts might be open all hours of the night or day. I don't know that, but our objection is traffic. Thank you.
Thank you. And go over to that table and sign your name.
I just moved it, sign up over there.
Hi. Linda Pompelli, 3345 Quail Hollow. I just want to also say traffic. We would be directly to the west of that little parcel that may be rezoned. So it'll be in our backyard and their backyard and our other neighbor's backyard. We've got deer back there. We've got turkeys there all the time. We've got kids in our neighborhood. We have 39, I think, houses. Plus, we have the whole Eaglestone Retirement Village that feeds into our neighborhood. We've got older people that walk the streets. We've got kids that walk and ride their bikes in the street. It's already a cut through from going west on, or going east on Stearns, cut through to Secor, so they don't have to take that light, especially now that it's no right turn on red. It's just, there's too much traffic for us. We've got dog walkers, we've got buses, we've got prime delivery trucks all day long, we've got concrete raising trucks, which cuts our road down to not even really a two full lanes. So that's my main issue. And yeah, we bought thinking that maybe a church someday. If not that, a residential, we're fine with that, but not commercial. We don't want Chick-fil-A in our backyard, or, I mean, there are other things that could be besides Dunkin' Donuts, as Ken said. So that's it. Please don't make us have a commercial in our backyard. There's enough of that already in Bedford.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And go over there and sign your name. Is there anybody else who would like to speak?
My name's Carl Planica. I live at 3160 Crystal Court, which is the condos that are down the end of Aaron Court, which is right across from Quail Hollow. That intersection, as it is right now, which is basically 2 lanes at that point, is fine. But then it turns down to 2 lanes, period. There's no turn lane. There's nothing down there. I know, maybe you've discussed this in previous meetings, but where is this traffic going into that place, if you approve it, going to be entering and exiting? I mean, if somebody's going down the road towards Stearns and wants to make a left-hand turn, you've got Deer Creek, you've got the Deer Creek subdivision, and it just holds up all the traffic headed that direction until there's a break in the traffic. And you're talking between 4 and 6. There aren't too many breaks there. We've already had 2 significant accidents at our intersection. And like I say, at that point, it happens to be 4 lanes and immediately cuts down to nothing but 2 lanes with no passing lane. Do you have an answer for this? That's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. Please sign your name on that sheet on the back table.
Gail Kane, Temperance, the Temperance drag strip. I don't live in that area, and some people may say that I probably shouldn't be speaking, but this is what's wrong with the township. People don't pay attention to the big picture. And I don't always get, I'm going to give you a different spin. I don't know how many people here migrated across the Ohio line, and I've lived here for over 50 years. Proposal A started the problem. Greed is what created that. People didn't want to spend tax money. Then we had Pearl Albert Green and Nancy Tinnevery leading the township, and Pearl had a vision for a commercial district, Stearns and Secor. Nancy Tinnevery wanted rooftops from head to toe. Pearl's focus to put a commercial center also enabled a developer to come through, because you don't get one without the other. It's a give and take. And so it enabled a developer to come in and just proliferate housing with no regard to green space, clean air, low traffic. We had people migrate in, were upset because they didn't have more than one grocery store to choose from. Kroger come a-running. Kroger wasn't happy with the small store, so we got the first and only super Kroger to be put in, despite a lot of us fighting. And that's just it. I've been fighting these things for a very long time. There was a huge story in the Monroe paper about Deer Creek, that the only deer that were going to be left within Bedford Township was the fake ones that they put on the walls to the entries to the subdivisions from the people that were moving in. Another thing you don't know is that this DDA has a group of people, and they plot and plan all that happens over there. There was discussion, why not the Rite Aid? Well, the Rite Aid had already been bought by Mr. Dindo, who sits on the DDA, who runs the liquor cabinet, who proposed the ballot to sell marijuana in this township. There's business people that sit on that. What you don't know is that 5 lanes are coming, and it's not going to be a roundabout. And this is to handle the traffic, the 14,000 cars that come through Smith and Secor. Manick and Smith enjoys their realm on the DDA because it fills their pockets. They're proposing that they put up a light that the road commission hasn't really approved, but the money from the DDA is going to pay for these new lights. They got to look fancy, they got to look pretty. I never knew Quail Hollow Road existed till they started to put in the no turn on right, and I realized there was a scenic route. So people travel my road to get from one place to the next. It's not a private road. I drive the speed limit. I'm courteous. I understand others would not. But that's not a private road. So the problem is that when someone says to you, what's your zip code, give them somebody else's, because that's the marketing tool. This guy is not stupid. He's making a good move.
You've reached the limit.
That's fine. I appreciate the time. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Keene. Oh, sign the sheet if you don't mind. Thank you.
Hello. I live in
State your address and your name.
3150 Mindy Lane.
Your
I live
name?
right behind the American table there. I'd just like to say
Your name?
my name's Anthony Miracola.
Okay.
I was in a real bad accident in that intersection. I'm lucky I'm alive. Some lady hit me. She had to be going, it's no fault, but she had to be going 50, 60 miles an hour and just blasted me. And, lucky that, I was all right. I had a concussion and different things. But that's a madhouse, that intersection. And I used to work, I retired from the city of Toledo, and I worked with the red lights, green lights. I was an associate engineer with traffic management. And I think the best solution for that intersection, number one, we don't want the donut shop there because it's going to be even worse. But I think you ought to put a four-way stop there because these people come, that sign that says the speed limit helps a lot because it kind of makes you aware to go 40, 45. But people fly there. I'm an avid walker. I don't. Some of you people probably see me walk in that neighborhood. I walk a lot of miles a day, and I do that neighborhood. But it's just a zoo. That whole you can't cross the street. I like to walk at Quail Hollow. You can't cross the street. But my solution would be, and I've talked to engineers that I work with in the city of Toledo, is either a four-way stop sounds crazy, but it would slow. You can't believe the people that come heading in Toledo. They're going 60, 70. I watch it every day. 60, 70 miles an hour, just flying. So they need to forget a light because us that live off of Aaron Court there we would never be able to get out of our house. We'd be stuck in that light forever, unless you turn right. But my solution would be to put a four-way stop there. I know that sounds crazy. It's easy to do. It would slow everybody down coming in and everybody going out. It was just, so that's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you.
That or a roundabout, something to slow these people down. So. Thank you.
Don't forget the sheet on the back table. Thank you.
Can I add to my comments? Override? Surcharge? Anybody else?
Anybody else who would like to speak?
Hi, I'm David Vicent, 4246 Renshaw Run. I've lived in Lambertville most all my life and grew up around here, went to Bedford. My parents are the ones that own the adjacent property to the church, Diana and Armando Vicent. We like the wildlife. We like seeing it out there. There's really no good reason to go rezoning that to commercial. The problem, it also sets up a precedent. You have one little tiny, 1 acre, 1.5 acre section that gets set up, and now the church sells the secondary, or they buy the rest of it, and they're like, oh, we want the adjacent part commercial. Then you're going to have a hard time saying no. Then the adjacent. It just keeps going. I would stick with the master plan that they have. There's plenty of commercial property that's up there. Really don't need to, change. And the traffic pattern, everyone keeps bringing up the traffic pattern. That particular section right there before you get to the hill and everything, there's not a good way for people to get in and out of there, other than if Dunkin' Donuts puts a little in and out kind of right over there by the people at Quail Hollow where they're having the trouble. I won't take up a lot of your time, but I'd vote against it.
Okay, thank you. And don't forget the sheet in the back table there. Thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to speak? No, you get 3 minutes. People can't keep coming up with for an additional 3.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Ms. Rector.
if they've already spoken at this time, there is public comment at the end of the meeting as well.
There is. That would be item 8. State your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Brooklyn Franker, and I live at 3479 Quill Hollow Drive. Having the Dunkin' Donuts be in that area, it is very disturbing to most of the people that live there because that's right by their backyards. And there are a couple kids that live in that area, and they do have a pretty fun childhood, and we would like to respect that so that they are able to keep playing in their backyard without any disturbance.
Okay, thank you. I hate to say it, she was the most articulate of all of you who came up and spoke tonight. Is there anybody else who would like to speak? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on from item 6 to item 7, old business. Item A, continuation regarding the request from Mooney Real Estate Holdings owner, OM Lamberville Realty, LLC, applicant Stephen Colber, authorized representative, requesting to rezone a plus or minus 1.485 acre portion of parcel number 5802-031-004-00, 10 acres from R2B single-family residential to C1 local commercial, located at the west side of Secor Road, south of Quail Hollow Drive. Ms. Rector, is there anything you want to add?
First, I would like the applicant to come up to determine if, since we are one member short, we wouldn't have discussion if he determines to defer.
Okay, Mr. Colbert, would you like to step up? Say your name and address for the record.
My name's Steve Colber. My address is 828 Davis Street in Evanston, Illinois.
Okay, and we are one member short tonight. Do you want to continue or defer?
We're prepared to present more information as I requested last time.
Okay.
And have the hearing today.
Is there anything you want to say before he goes?
Yes, because we didn't go over the application and all that last time. First, I would like to say that I did provide in your packets the additional letters that we did receive after the meeting regarding letters of objection from the neighbors. The letter that was permitted, we did allow them just to sign. I know the public hearing is closed, but I did advise the applicants or the residents that I would at least address it. We did show 6 letters of objection highlighted in pink, voice opposition at the request in blue, and then we had the additional letters. After I had sent out the packets, we did get an additional 4 letters of objection, and I have them if you'd like me to pass them out, but I did want to notate we did have 4 additional letters. Moving on to the information. Whoops. Maybe. Well, maybe we can move on if I can find my packet. Okay, somewhere. I'm sorry, Okay, here we are. This is the continuation of the request for the rezoning from the March 26th Planning Commission meeting, and due to the lack of quorum, the applicant determined to defer to April 9th. The public hearing was open with public comments and closed, and there was no discussion or recommendation made. And then we did review the packet. At that time, no additional information had been provided. So the subject 10-acre vacant parcel is zoned R2B, single-family residential, located on the west side of Secor Road, south of Quail Hollow Drive. The subject parcel has 660 feet of road frontage on Secor Road. The request is the applicant is requesting to rezone an approximate 1.485 acre portion of the vacant 10-acre parcel from R2B to single-family residential to C1 local commercial. The proposed resulting parcel will maintain a plus or minus 196 feet of road frontage on Secor and 1.485 acres. The applicant's request to rezone is to propose a commercial development with a Dunkin' Donut drive-through at the end cap as provided on the application. The surrounding zonings are North PUD, PBO, RME, and single-family residential, location of Quail Hollow. South, single-family residential, vacant. East, PBO, C1, and PUD. single-family residential, and west is single-family residential. The master plan designates the subject property as suburban residential intended to provide areas for residential development. The future land use category supports the neighborhood development and housing for those seeking suburban amenities such as 2- and 3-car attached garages, larger setbacks and landscaped yards, decks, play equipment, and private swimming pools. The Planning Department requested a review from the rezoning to be conducted by Lucy Fortin, the Manikin Smith Group, and planner for Bedford Township. Ms. Fortin prepared an overall review for the subject area and concluded the proposed zoning and use does not align with the land development trends in the general facility of the subject property. In conclusion, it was suggested the Planning Commission make a recommendation to the Township Board to deny the rezoning request for the following key reasons. The requested C1 zoning does not align with the Township Master Plan, which designates this area for suburban residential use. The proposed commercial use would conflict with the plan's future land use vision and its goals for orderly development, housing stability, and neighborhood preservation. The introduction of a drive-through or high-intensity commercial would negatively affect nearby residential properties due to the increased noise, lighting, extended business hours, and vehicle-oriented activity. Unlike the DDA core area, which is designated for mixed-use development, this location is adjacent to single-family homes, condominiums, and office space where commercial strip development would be incompatible. The surrounding area features a well-established pattern of residential and office uses that serve as a buffer between the Downtown Development Authority area and the neighboring lower-density residential neighborhoods. Rezoning this site to C1 would introduce a commercial strip development in an area that has functioned as a gradual transition from higher-intensity commercial to residential areas. A more appropriate use for this site would be an office or high-density residential development, which would better align with the existing land uses. While the site is served by public water and sewer, the proposed commercial development with a drive-through would increase traffic congestion on Secor Road, particularly in a transition point where the roadway narrows from the 5 lanes to 2. This type of development would accelerate the need for costly roadway improvement and introduce additional turning improvements that could disrupt traffic flow and pedestrian safety. The DDA area already contains vacant commercial parcels that are properly zoned and have the necessary infrastructure to support business growth. Encouraging development in these areas rather than rezoning new land for commercial supports planned economic growth and while maintaining minimum land use conflicts. I cannot find my packet. I'm sorry. Okay. Here we are. I'm sorry, I wasn't scrolling down far enough. I wanted to go to the actual, so the public can see the sketch of the proposed area before you speak. So this is Secor Road. This is where the medical office is going into Quail Hollow, and this is the portion that they are looking to rezone from the 10 acres. That is all I have.
I have quite a bit to add, Mr. Chairman. As you recall, at the last meeting, when hearing some of the concerns of the neighbors, and we got the Manic Smith report, just a few days prior, maybe about half a week prior to the meeting, we wanted the chance to present some more information that are brought up as part of the Manic Smith report and what the neighbors are talking about, rather than just an area of what we're looking at zoning. I understand why staff asked for that, and that that's procedure for a zoning request, but we think it behooves the commission here to know a little bit more about what we're proposing, rather than just a broad rezoning of the area itself. So we have some more documents to share. Can I pass this out? Or?
Mm-hmm. I'll just hand them down.
All right, very good.
I would like to just remind the commission, this information is a proposed, very preliminary site plan, and we do not take in consideration of an example of what would be proposed while we're considering. We take into consideration all uses that would be permitted in the zoning district, and I do know that Mr. Colbert did advise last meeting he would bring this information to the attendants.
And we understand staff's position on this, certainly, but we want to tell you the reason why this site was identified by my client and what we plan on doing. So what you have in front of you are 2 drawings. One, and we're going to speak more about what we plan to do with the rest of the site as well. Mr. Howard's here to speak about that. But for what we're proposing for the the rezoning itself, as you can see, and as it was said in the narrative, a commercial development where a Dunkin' would be an end cap on, a multi-tenant building is what it would be. So what you have in front of you, the first page shows an enlarged site plan of just that zoned area that we're looking at doing. And you can see one of the things that when looking at that, we made sure that we aligned the zoning or the site to align so that we're just about the same size as the office building above us, and that we're as wide as what is the mixed-use zone property across from us. As you all know, from Stearns all the way down to that office building, it's all commercial development, except for the vacant parcel that we're looking to create our corner of. The site itself is a larger site than what we needed for the development, but we wanted to make sure we had plenty of buffer around it so that we can provide fencing, landscaping, and whatnot, knowing that a residential component would be nearby and around us. The drive-through itself, as you can see on there, we got it's a drive-through that can hold more cars than a Dunkin' would ever need. Typically, a Dunkin' takes, if you have a 10-car queue, you never get anywhere out of that, and we've got that pushed all the way to the back of the site and about a 25-yard buffer behind that, just to have that separation, being cognizant of where we are asking for the zoning to happen. Secondly, one of the main concerns, and understandably so, when we're talking about traffic, we at staff's request, we spoke to the folks at the Monroe County Road Commission, and they said they were telling us about what their plans for Stearns are, and from what's coming up shortly, as was mentioned, from the Ohio border to Smith, there are already plans in place for a widening of that portion of Secor, and within the next year or two, I think 27, 28, so they're thinking of doing that. And then moving up north from there to where we are proposing to be, at some point is the plan. But one thing that's made very clear to us, and is what this site reflects, is future development and widening. There's a reason why we're set so far back, because the Road Commission asked us to show minimally a 27-foot right-of-way buffer for future road expansion. And also, what was made abundantly clear to us, and which we understand, and we want to make sure the Commission understands that we know what was asked of us, is that anything that we do propose on this site will have to have a full traffic study, impact study as to how it would affect the site, for the Dunkin' and the retail, and any road improvements that are necessary to mitigate that is on my client. He will be paying the bill to make the road wider or a right turn taper if necessary. Even if it says that a left turn lane is necessary, we have to satisfy the Road Commission as to what they are doing there, and so it also aligns with their future plans as what's going up and down Secor Road. So the widening is going to happen, and we wanted to, we are ahead of the game being so far north, but we were made very well aware that whatever we do, we have to align with what their future plans are going to be, and we're happy to do so. So I clearly understand, worries of what traffic would be here, but we're cognizant of the fact that it's on us to make sure that whatever we do mitigates that per the Road Commission. And that's something that when we get to that point, or hopefully, that we have to submit permits for them and studies and all that kind of business, that we won't get approved unless we meet those requirements. That the Road Commission says, yes, this is adequate for what this site is. And that's one of the things we wanted to talk about as well, is that, instead of just looking at our rectangle of our site, to saying there's some thought that went into what we're doing here, to put this here. So to be an end cap, so to speak, of that commercial development from Stearns down to where our site is, where we would do the road improvements necessary. We also I talked to Lucy at Manic Smith about the properties. She identified some properties, or said there were some properties. The thing is, there are properties, and she identified some vacant lots. But for what a Dunkin', they're a big corporate entity, and they take a lot of time to look at where it makes sense for a Dunkin' to be, and that location on Secor is something that they're really attracted to. And it's not just random that it goes there. It's like doing what the future development, where it's going to be, what's going down the road. The big thing to always remember with a Dunkin' is that they rely on existing traffic. We've done, as you can imagine, a lot of these things. In every traffic study, there's always trip generations that are done as part of a traffic impact analysis. And the trip generation for a Dunkin' is not, of course, there's added trips, but it's not of a magnitude that makes a huge impact because they rely on existing traffic. 65% or more of traffic that's heading south on Secor is what Duncan is eyeballing for that site. Thus the reason why we're prepared to make the improvements necessary to have that happen. Duncan itself, when we talk about weird hours, yes, they are early operation, but this operator, and to be clear, Mr. Patel, who's the developer, he's also the franchisee and has Duncans all over Michigan, and I do them all for him. So he's also the operator of the Duncan itself. And I want to make it clear also, when you look at that floor plan on that first page of what I handed out, you can see that the Duncan is a good part of that center. I mean, it's a Duncan Baskin. We keep saying Duncan, but it's a Duncan Baskin is what he's hoping to do there. And the point is, he normally closes his doors around 9 o'clock because it's morning business and afternoon business maybe. You know, Duncan's, that's their busy time. So his stores in this area, they close around 9 o'clock. So it's not like an all-night, concern. It's not a 24-hour store by any stretch. So when we talk about the transition, one of the things, and Mr. Howard's going to speak to about what's on the second page of what I handed you. He's a broker that we've been working with. You know, we're carving out this 1.4 acre parcel just for the Duncan 3-tenant building. And it might be 2 tenants, whoever they end up leasing to and working with the Duncan being the end cap. The remainder of the parcel, we are aggressively and only working with developers that are looking to make it a residential development. What you see in front of you is just a concept that we've shared, but Mr. Howard's going to speak, if you don't mind.
Mr. Chair, he is not an authorized representative to speak on behalf of the property owner, and we are not looking at a site plan for multifamily, single family, or anything on the remaining acreage of this parcel. We are only looking at the commercial piece of the 1.4 acres, and we're getting more into a site plan review right now than we are looking at rezoning.
Fair enough.
I'm also the representative for OM. I am the broker. I'm the broker for.
You are Mr. Patel?
No, I'm his broker. I work with Colliers International.
Did you submit this before the meeting?
No, I didn't.
This is popped on us.
All right.
We were told through the representative, it's Mr. Culver. Do you want to speak on what he was going to say?
Yes, I can speak to what he's going to say. So Mr. Howard has been actively and only marketing this to developers for residential properties. And he could talk to more, and maybe you can speak at public time, but he's familiar with the area. He's got property in the area, and he's been looking to finalize the rest of that site as residential. That's what we've been working on in the interim. I will also say that when we talk about the adverse effect, Duncan is obviously something new in the area there, but again, we went through great lengths to make sure the parcel we cut out aligns with the office building, with a large buffer, aligns with the property across the street, which is mixed use, and that we're not trying to push into or be in anybody's backyard. If you look at that site plan and the second site plan, you can see where the office building is, and the Duncan itself is probably 75 to 80 feet away from any of the residential properties.
Okay, is that all you have?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm here to answer any questions that the commission might have.
Anybody have a question for Mr. Colber? I'm sorry, you can't ask. This is commission time.
Mr. Chair, if I may, I would like for the public to just get clarification. If Mr. Colber, did you notate that it was going to be a Dunkin' Donuts and a Baskin Robbins in the same unit?
No, it was a Dunkin'. They just started wanting to make it a Dunkin' Baskin, but it's all under the Inspire Brands umbrella.
Okay, and then is this proposed that you provided the commission a 3-unit, multi-unit building that's proposed?
It can be a 3-unit. It's designed as, we have elevations and all that kind of business of the building, but it's designed to be a 3-tenant building, of which the end cap, which we represented, is a drive-through Dunkin' and a Baskin.
I just wanted to get clarification because he did provide it to the commission.
Thanks for asking.
They're actually, because it was just discussed as a Dunkin'.
Okay, does anybody have any questions for Mr. Colber?
If I may, Mr. Chair, what's the proposed square footage of the other two units?
Well, right now, they're just left open, so depending on who the tenant is and what kind of square footage they need, we'll demise accordingly.
Okay.
That's why I said it might be two tenants, depending on who is, looking to rent space there.
Thank you.
Mr. Dersch?
Yeah, just out of curiosity's sake, what makes the other commercial properties we have available not suitable for this operation?
Well, Duncan Corporate wanted to be on Secor Road, and they wanted to be on the west side of the road. And the shape and the size of the property, what we're looking at, this suited us best for what we wanted to do for a 3-tenant building.
Mr. Andrews?
Has a representative from Duncan Corporate navigated this portion of Secor Road during rush hour?
Yeah, they do all kinds of, the real estate folks there do all kinds of analysis and all that kind of business. But I think they also look at it with what I said before, that there's an understanding that there's improvements coming or that we would have to do some improvements on that section.
Anyone else? Does anybody care to make a motion?
Or are we gonna, I thought we were just asking questions.
Well, do you have a question?
No?
That's what I'm asking. If anybody has a question.
I don't have any questions. I mean, I guess I don't know. Are we having discussion? Or are you waiting
That's
for
what
a
we're
motion? Are you waiting for a motion for discussion?
If you'd like to discuss anything, you can.
That's what I guess that's what I was waiting for.
Mr. Chairman, if I may put out there also, if it would please the commission, we'd be willing to perform the traffic study in advance to show what mitigations we would have to do to Secor on the site.
Mr. Chair, I will advise the commission, this is a recommendation to the Township Board, and we cannot provide conditions on a rezoning.
Okay, thanks. Does anybody have any comments?
I do. I'm going to get my turn one way or the other.
Go ahead.
It's going to come. This is going to come to me eventually. So I was going to wait.
Floor.
I was going to wait if anybody else had anything else.
I might add to what you comment on, so go ahead.
I guess just a few of my thoughts is I don't think it can be stated enough, and Ms. Rector has stated it multiple times in different ways. This decision Dunkin' Donuts is irrelevant to our decision. It does not matter if this was a Chipotle or whatever it would be. We're looking at this as the rezoning, not a site plan review, we're not deciding, do you like Dunkin' Donuts or do you like Tim Hortons or I would prefer now I guess I take that back. If it was a Chick-fil-A, you might have me. But I'm joking. We're not deciding whether or not Bedford needs a Dunkin' Donuts. That is not what we're doing whatsoever. We are looking at this as a zoning C1 in this location. It's been said plenty of there's other, and I get it. I understand why they want this parcel. It makes sense to me as a good parcel for them, and possibly better from the corporation's vantage point to want that parcel over other available. But that's is what it is, I suppose. Also, I don't know if there's been a couple things brought up about future expansion and widening of Secor Road to the state line, the future mast arm at Quail Hollow. Those are also things that, in my opinion, we cannot take into consideration in making this decision, because that's a if. If the widening of Secor Road happens before 2030, my mind will be blown. And that's if that ever happens. That's something that's been being talked about for forever, and is a massive undertaking. And will it probably eventually happen? Maybe. But we can't decide a rezoning on a parcel that maybe down the road, this road would be able to handle the traffic. Same thing with the mast arm. That mast arm, I think, was supposed to be in 2020. And I think every year we're in budget season right now at the township, and that's probably going to be next budget season before that's coming. It's like we've been saying that for 5 years. It's just those type of things, the ifs that have been brought up that we can't say, well, in my opinion, I don't think we can take those into consideration because they are not actual. They have not happened. So to say, well, it might happen, and then they would be able to handle the traffic, I think, I don't think we can take that into consideration. So those are just a couple of my general thoughts on. I would like to hear other.
Thank you, Mr. Lake.
Yeah, I'll just kind of add to Mr. Montree's comment. I agree. We have to focus on the rezoning, not what's going to be planned to be there. That's not the purposes of what we're doing today. And we have to focus on, do we really think that makes the best sense for Bedford Township to be a C1 piece of property? But I also have a question maybe for Ms. Rector. Because the remaining of the property would be R2B, but wouldn't there also need to be a split if there's two different zonings on one piece of property?
Yes, the applicant is aware, but the recommendation from the Planning Commission will go to the Township Board, and when it goes to the Township Board, I will need a legal description. Should the board desire to approve the request, then it would be published 8 days after publication when it would go into effect, and it would have to move through the land division process. Before that time, the application would have to be submitted.
Okay, thank you. Just a couple more comments, really. I'm going to stay consistent with the township master plan, right? That was designed by the citizens. A lot of input from planning and Manick and Smith, of course, but the citizens spoke their piece. And that township plan did not include commercial where this particular proposal is. And I'm going to say with these 5 facts, right, it is inconsistent with the township master plan. It would have an adverse impact on nearby residential. There's a lack of proper land use transition, negative traffic impacts, and the last part, sufficient commercially zoned land elsewhere within the Downtown Development Authority, right? A zone that was set aside specifically for commercial in Lambertville. So for that, I guess that kind of tells you where my head is at as far as approving this or not approving this.
Anybody else care to make a comment or have a question?
I have a comment.
Mr. Andrews.
Maybe we can speak to. This is a recent development, but I'm thinking a precedent in the township of something like this, where we have maybe a rural residential area, and we're taking a commercial and putting it in there. And I'm thinking of the intersection at Secor and Smith, which is a pretty recent development. There's the neighborhood over there, and then the capo, and there's the eye doctor and all that. Can anyone speak to, Jody, maybe can you speak to, how was that zone previously?
That is actually a plan unit development, Summerlin Builders, and that development within the PUD is developed for commercial uses which are consistent with the use of a residential. That's why you see the coffee shop, an attorney is in there, the eye doctor, walkability. That south, there's a portion to the west that is actually zone C1 as well, going into Summerlin Builders, and those are intended uses for that development. They are part of the PUD project, the plan unit development. They are outside the condominium, but they are part of that project, and it all came in as commercial when it was zoned for the plan unit development.
So is that approach something that's been discussed with the applicant as an alternative to trying to rezone to a commercial using PUD instead? Has that been discussed at all with this case? Because we're talking.
We discussed zonings and changes on other people's property as a planning department.
I guess what I'm saying is the approach that was taken by Summerlin.
That was from Summerlin Builders and the property owner.
I guess another question being, let's say the board is not interested in approving the commercial rezoning. Is the plan to retain that portion and just sit on it and then move forward with trying to find a builder for the rest of the lot, or are you going to just ditch the idea? Is that something the applicants
Well, have to talk to the applicant about what he wants to do, right? They are very, they love the site, the brand loves the site, and they want to see what they can do to make that happen. And if there's certainly there's other avenues for us to explore to do that.
Mr. Lake.
Yeah, I'll add some. So, Grant, the Quail Hollow development technically is a PUD. Like the bank is actually a part of that development, and also the doctor's office is right there at the end.
Ms. Rector?
Yeah, and I would just like to give Grant another example is the residents that live within Quail Hollow. That development is actually a PUD as well. That is where it has commercial PBO on Stearns and Secor. Then you move into the development. You have then the Eaglestone, which is RME, elderly housing zoning, and then you go into the single family. So that is more of the design of a PUD to have mixed uses, but allow for the flexibility of uses that are walkable, more residential type as you see on Stearns and Secor.
Right. And it sounds to me like that's what's generally trying to be captured here, but we're trying to rezone to commercial. So I'm just maybe putting that out there that, maybe I'm getting vibes that the commercial is not something that the board's interested in pursuing.
I think, to clarify, that's part of the master plan, though. That PUD was part of the master plan. So it wasn't something that was came in and rezoned to be able to pursue that building of that area.
Part of the master
Development
plan
of that
and within
area.
the DDA, the
Yes.
Downtown Development Authority area.
The Quail Hollow.
Quail Hollow,
But
yes.
not the Smith and Secor. That
Smith
would be
and
in the
Secor has a long history of it. It goes all the way to the westerly larger homes. It is a very mixed use. You have single family, it goes in from the west all the way to Smith Road as a development. And you notice that they don't have access to Secor Road. They only have one access from the commercial
Correct.
into Summerlin, and then to the west in Summerlin, they did not obtain access onto Secor Road.
I guess where my mind is going with this is, for full transparency, like the traffic through here, and agree with what you said, Craig. We can't rule on what could be or what's being necessarily proposed as a concept. We can't rule on the lanes being widened in the near future. Like you said, it might never happen. It might happen in a long time. I'm thinking of ways that something like this could be accomplished with a little bit more oversight, with a little bit more buy-in from other members of the township, because it sounds like the public's pretty opposed in the adjacent area. I mean, just driving through there to work every day, it is going to slow traffic down. I mean, that'll be proven by a traffic study. So, to rezone this to C1 and open that up to all the uses permitted in a C1, that's pretty open-ended compared to something like a PUD, where I think it's pretty restrictive. So we're working on the master plan upcoming. Maybe like this area is considered as more of a transition zone. I don't know, but I guess that's where my mind's at as far as rezoning to a C1. It seems like you're going to be hard-pressed to convince me on that one specifically. So just a thought.
Okay, anybody else have any questions or comments? Would someone care to make a motion?
I'll make a motion. Make a motion that we recommend to the Township Board not to rezone 1.485 portion of parcel number 5802-031-004-00 from R2B Single Family Residential to C1 Local Commercial located on the west side of Secor Road south of Quail Hollow Drive.
Do we have support?
Can I request that you have your reasonings, even if it's supported by the review from the Mannequin Smith Group? Ms. Fortin?
I will. Friendly amendment that it is inconsistent with Township Master Plan, adverse impact on nearby residential uses, lack of proper lane use transition, and negative traffic impacts as reviewed by Mannequin Smith.
I'll go ahead and support and also add the sufficient commercially zoned land use elsewhere, especially in the DDA, and I'm open to any other friendly amendments that need to be added to that.
You accept that, Mr. Tremblay?
I do.
So we have support from Mr. Dersch. Any other amendments? Okay, Mr. Andrews, if you could call the roll, please.
Mr. Trombley?
Aye.
Mr. Dersch?
Aye.
Mr. Montry?
Aye.
Mr. Lake?
Yes.
Mr. Andrews is yes, and Mr. Mahoney.
Yes. Sorry.
It's quite all right. Again, we'll.
Please consider other commercial areas in the township.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Mr. Rector.
I just would like to advise the applicant, this will, as it is a recommendation, and for the public, it will go to the township board not till the May 20th meeting. May 6th is a election, and the clerk will need to be, it's a township board meeting, but the clerk will need to be trying to keep that agenda because she will have to be working with, also with the election information on May 6th. There is a school, I believe, a school election. So it will move forward. I did speak to the clerk's department and do have authorization to move it to the May 20th township board meeting. Please let me know if that works for you so I can keep the project going.
Yes, that
okay.
works for us.
I'll move it to the May, just so the public knows, May 20th township board meeting. It's not a public hearing. Same process as it was tonight. They will have public comment, and you can speak on the items on the agenda.
And for everybody, you're welcome to stick around and discuss the capital improvement plan with us and other fun stuff. We're going to talk about the master plan renewal. Please. Otherwise, you can just leave. Thanks for coming. You can wait till public comment at the end.
That's next chair.
We're still in the
Oh, is it?
We have other items on the agenda.
We're not going to, we got those other two issues. Don't we have two other things to talk about? Okay. All right, we'll move on to item 8, public comment. Miss, you can step up and talk.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
You want my name and everything again, too?
Yes, please.
Linda Pompelli, 33.
All right, hang on. All right, everybody, if you're ready to go.
Get that gavel.
Yeah.
Get that gavel going.
I did it with my left hand. That's pretty good. I'm ambidextrous.
Okay, go ahead, say your name and
Okay. Linda Pompelli, 3345 Quail Hollow. I just have a question about that May 20th. Is this going forward and still a discussion? The board is going to decide if they're going to accept your recommendation?
Could take our recommendation or they could override it.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. Thank you. I've already signed, right?
You already signed your. Yeah, you need to.
Yeah. Folks, we got to keep going, but if you could go out into the hall, that would be great.
Thank you for being here.
Everyone's got your back.
All right, well, we'll move on to item 9, information. Ms. Rector?
Yes, Ms. Fortin is here from the Mannequin Smith Group, and she will provide some information and an update of where we're at with the master plan, because we are looking, it will have to be reviewed this year for any amendments and changes. So I'm going to let Ms. Fortin speak, and then we'll go forward from there.
Thank you. I'm Lucy Fortin, and my name was mentioned a fair amount tonight. I'm glad to be popular. I'm here to talk about master plan update. And I see Jake is still sitting on the planning commission. And you were part of that process when we went through it. I was privileged to be assisting the township with its master plan in 2015. In 2015, it was a major overhaul. I'm passing a handout just for your information. I just want to briefly go through this and maybe give you some homework. Like I said, in 2015, it was a major overhaul. I can't remember the date of the previous one, but it was definitely a very a long time ago. And so there was a clear difference between the two. This year, we're proposing a update. So what I want to talk to you about, because we have a lot of new commissioners from the last time, what is a master plan? A master plan, and the first thing I want to say is it's not the same as a zoning map. And a lot of people tend to confuse zoning and future land use. But I think you are confronted with rezoning cases a great amount in this township. And I think it's really incumbent on us to come up with a plan that will meet your desire for what you want to see this community to grow in the next 20 years. And that is the purpose of the master plan. And Planning Commission is really foremost in that process, particularly when it comes to defining and envisioning what you want to be in 20 years. So I put a link there to your previous master plan. I'm not going to read all this. I think you can read that to yourself. And I would really encourage you to take a look at that and take a look at what you liked and what you didn't like. That would be very helpful because we are here to respond to that and to make it better. So that's A, the purpose of a master plan. B is really what's included in a master plan. And the process we typically go through as planners is a three-step approach. Looking at what you have, finding out what you want, and then how do we get there? So those are the three questions that we ask and that we try to find out. As far as where we are now and what you have, we're going to look at the new data from the Census 2020, which, you know, the new censuses come every 10 years, so this is very timely. We're going to look at trends and everything else. There's been a lot of changes in Bedford, and we're going to try to capture that and make sure you're aware of that too. Then as far as seeking some input or from you, what we're trying to see is whether or not we could have a possible workshop with you within the framework of one of your meetings, possibly. And we were looking at May perhaps as being a good time. And I don't know, Jody, if you want to talk about that.
Yes, I would like to put it on the first meeting in May, on May 14th, as a workshop. We would like to be able to advise some of the public in case they wanted to come to get some information. But I would like to push it for the May 14th, but I would also like to make sure I'm going to have a commission because I think everybody needs to be involved. But Lucy and I had spoken and we thought it was a good way to at least do the first workshop, maybe see what public we can get involved, maybe have some kind of handout for the public to be able to put some input in as well. The only reason I push for the 14th instead of the 28th, Monday is that holiday, and I know some people still go on vacation, and I don't want to take a chance of having a short commission if someone's not back by Wednesday. Monday's the Memorial Day. So I don't want to, I would rather do it on the 14th if that works for everybody, more so than the 28th.
14 sounds great.
Perfect.
So, and after we do that, we're going to get your input, and we're going to focus at that meeting, we're going to focus on the community goals. And so if you go look at that link and go review that, that's what the meeting is going to be really focused on. And we'll devise a way that to make it a little, probably, you know, ask you to come down maybe and then look at boards and try to have a conversation. So it's more interactive. So the last thing I'd like to talk about is the process. There is a PA 33 of 2008, which is the Michigan Planning Enabling Act, and there is a process by which we need to go through. The first part is letters need to be sent to adjacent communities, and you probably have received them from others, like Erie Township or Whiteford or some of the communities that are near you. Advising these communities that we are beginning the process of planning and reviewing the master plan in requesting comments. And we do that with the county as well, county planning. Even if there's no planning commission, we will send courtesy, and they do review and provide very good feedback. So I always encourage that. After we do that, we start through the process of reviewing, and reviewing the community goals is going to be the big part that we would seeking your assistance with. And then we come up with a plan, a proposed plan, and then it goes to, once you're happy with a complete proposed plan, we ask the board if they will approve distribution of the plan at that point for public review. And then it goes to the same entities, the adjacent communities, and the people that we've told that we were starting the review process. And that lasts for a period of 63 days. So it will take a while to go through this, and you will have more than one chance to certainly voice your opinion. I guess that's my message here. And after the 63-day public comment period, we come back for a public hearing to you first. And once you're happy and you wish to approve it, then we seek approval also from the board. That's typically the process that Bedford Township goes through. We would like to have the township board obviously involved much prior. We don't want to wait at the very end. That wouldn't be wise. So I don't know, Craig, I believe you are the representative. I think it would be really nice to have communication. I don't know if you report to them about the process, about you started the process, about this is happening, and keeping them informed as much as you are.
Okay.
I think that would be a really good thing. So if you turn the page,
what would be the, just, I don't know if that's appropriate, what would be the nature of the workshop? Is that something that there's interest in the township board being involved in, or?
I would say so. I would say anyone who wants to participate, the more the merrier.
So it's going to be at
a
Because
public
it's going to be
part of our meeting,
It
but
would be part of our meeting, and I was going to encourage maybe at the township board meeting on Tuesday, you could at least advise that we're looking to have a workshop on the May 14th Planning Commission for the master plan, and then encourage as many people to come in, at least have input, because I think the more input just in the discussion that the 7 of you have, well, 6 of you tonight, that you have, that it brings out different directions of the township. So I think the more that we can get the public involved, or even the trustees and the elected officials, and the elected officials are aware that I am working with Ms. Fortin, and I have met with them as well. So I think great communication between you and I working, I will keep you informed as well. Okay?
I'll add to that. I was around 15 years ago, just to tell you or 10 years ago, sorry. That's how old I am now. All the township trustees, the township supervisor, they came to because it was a very important document that helped set the precedent of how our township would develop. So, yeah.
Okay.
I have a question.
Strongly encouraged.
When was this originally created? This says adopted October of 2015. Was that just reviewed and accepted?
It was 2015 was the date, the year.
Created from scratch.
Oh, no. The prior one was, and is it written? It might be, it might be written right at the beginning.
Really old.
But it was at least 20 years prior.
Like in elementary school.
And I don't remember the date, but I'll find out. I actually think I have an older a copy of it. So I can bring that if you're interested in seeing.
I perused this master plan, and I've identified 10 things I want to see eliminated completely or toned down.
Okay.
So would it be appropriate to send it to my fellow commission members now, or should I wait for the next meeting?
Let's focus on the goals first.
This is all part of it.
And so you can voice certainly at that time, and then we'll have those conversation. And yes, we will collect all in your comment.
The other thing I was curious to know, will your survey or I guess the census information reveal a proportion of apartment renter dwellers versus residential homes? Or will it just be strictly population?
No, what do you mean?
How many apartments we have in our township versus homes?
Oh,
how many
rentals.
Of our 31,000 people
so
rent
I have to use data that's available, and the data available is really through SEMCOG. So I will go look and see what I can see. Normally, the type of housing units that they look at is whether people own them or rent them. That could indicate some, the units that are being rented being apartments.
Good communities should have a healthy mix of rentals and
right.
residential homes. I want to know if we're top heavy one way or another.
We'll find out, and I
We've
can tell
had
you.
opportunities to allow more apartment buildings, and we denied it, but
That's a
we're
great,
being unfair.
that's a great thing to look at, and I'll make sure to report on that and see if I can get even more detailed. Yes.
Question. So I see CMACOG on here, which is great. I think that'll be awesome to get input from Southeast Michigan Council of Governments. What about TMACOG as well?
TMACOG, sure. I think Bedford is in the territory of TMACOG, and we'll do that.
I don't know if we.
I don't remember.
I don't think we're a part of TMACOG anymore. We got rid of it, right?
I think we parted ways a couple years ago.
They still have data that could be.
You might still be able to get data.
Yeah,
but I'm pretty sure
which
that
is
we,
I think what you're getting at. So I mean I know they're very involved with the non-motorized.
You work in
plants.
Ohio, right?
Pardon me?
Manick and Smith works in Ohio, right?
I'm personally operate from Monroe.
Sister operation in Toledo. You could get information from them.
Yeah, I can regardless. It doesn't have to be because.
The president of TMACOG at one point was a Bedford resident.
Okay, so unless there's more questions, any questions? Other? No? I just want to point to page 2 of 2 here. I gave you essentially 3 questions and things that I would very much like to hear from you. It goes to taking a look at your township from the view from the top and get to some basic information. You probably have heard, strength and challenges and assets type questions. And this is what that goes to. And I would prefer that you think this through and then write a paragraph or even just a sentence, whatever comes to your mind as you're reviewing community goals and reviewing the master plan. I would very much like to get your input. So if you could bring that on the 14th, that would be great.
Okay, I will.
I'm going to actually ask for you to bring it on the meeting for the 23rd so I can scan them in and send them to Ms. Fortin so she has at least somewhat of an idea. But I would like those back when we have a meeting on the 23rd of April so I can provide them.
I can just email it to you.
Thank you, actually.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I just so she has an opportunity to review them before we have the meeting as well, then to have more items available for discussion.
Okay. Yes.
Just a question. So I see the mention of the workshops and collecting public input. Is there another way the public can provide input? Can they write in or email, or how does that process
Well, I mentioned the 63-day public comment period. Certainly, we will make the master plan and we'll attempt to put it on the website. We are not at this point considering an online survey, which is another way to do it. But we're not looking for that at this point.
Do other communities do online surveys to help solicit more feedback and input, or what is that typical?
People do it very differently. I deal with many different size communities that don't have a whole lot of funds, and typically they involve their stakeholders. I think you get the best input from the stakeholders and the people like you who serve on committees and who have been on committees for quite a bit and can provide great insights. And obviously, public is always welcome. We never turn anybody out.
I think there were some townships in the MTA that did a survey. And I don't think it was that expensive relative. It was like $1,000 or something. I don't know. But it's been done recently.
Yeah, many do.
A reasonable consideration to get the most input possible. I mean, there's always conflicts with meetings and times that maybe folks can't attend or be here in person to voice, but at least we make it accessible.
I think as we move through the process, we can revisit that notion. We have, at Manick and Smith, we have access to SurveyMonkey, and so it's an easy setup. If we feel like we didn't get enough input, we certainly can reconsider and adjust accordingly. This is going to be a long process. So we'll have a chance to interact and see where we want to go. And I'll be adaptable. Thank you.
Quick question for you before you step away, Ms. Fortin. Question for you. The most helpful thing for this workshop upcoming would be for all of us to review the master plan and maybe come up with comments like Pat has done. That would be the most helpful to make it productive.
If you'd focus on the chapter for the community goals,
Okay.
that's really where we're going to focus that workshop on. But try not to get too much lost in the detail. Unless you have a ton of detail to give me, but I'm open. So, but the community goals is where we're going to attack it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, moving on to item 9B, update on the capital improvement plan, Mr. Miller, finance manager.
Very patient man.
Very patient man. State your name and your location for the record.
Yep. Robert Miller, finance manager here at the township. Well, first, thanks for inviting me. Second, did everybody get? Okay, that's what we're going to talk about tonight is Fund 446.
Right now.
Township Improvement Revolving Fund.
Holy crap.
Just a little logistics, I guess, on the spreadsheet itself. The columns are organized by project rankings, so there's 3 rankings: essential, desirable, and acceptable. Within each project rating, there's a ranking of 1 through whatever. 1 being, essential 1 is what you want to get done priority. It's right away. A little description of the project, the department, project name, the anticipated replacement year you'd like the project to happen, years until purchase or replacement, the expected replacement value, how much was allocated in fiscal year 24, the current fiscal year, and how much we're going to allocate in fiscal year 2026 with a total allocation. Then we take the difference between the expected replacement value, total allocation, that's the funds required yet, funds needed. And if there are funds still needed, divide that by the years until purchase gets how much we need to fund each year. In the essential category, most of these are all Park Commission items. They have 4 of them that they are going to, they meaning Al Pryor's department with Pat Thatcher, Buildings and Grounds. They're going to do some work at the Cars Grove Pavilion, Samaria Park Gazebo, Cars Grove Gazebo, and White Park basketball court, sidewalk, ADA accessibility. So they built a basketball court, now they have to make it ADA accessible. So that's already been fully funded and ready to go. We have a few projects that are expected to happen in 2027, then another 28, 29, then a couple in 2030. So in the essential category, the expected replacement value is about $1,119,000 and some change. We already have $502,000 allocated. We need an additional $617,000 to complete those. And if we were to save about $274,000 in change per year, we could complete all those projects. And the desirable, same situation. We have an expected replacement value of about $415,000. At the end of fiscal year 2026, we'll have approximately $102,000 allocated. So if we save about $52,500 per year, we should be able to fund all those projects. And then it gets down into acceptable. So if we scroll all the way down to the grand totals, if we were to fully fund all projects, it would be approximately $200,000. We will have approximately $1 million already allocated, so we need another $2.7 million. To accomplish that, we would have to save $532,000, almost $533,000 per year. Unfortunately, we don't have that much money.
How far are we behind?
This year, we could only come up, this is going to be in column K there, allocated in fiscal year 2026, we can only come up with $400,000. So as you can see, we're about $133,000 short. So there are options. One, we can find a way to increase revenue. Two, decrease expenses, or go through each of these projects individually to determine, one, are they required? Two, is the replacement year, is that accurate? Can it be pushed out? Or three, is the expected replacement value accurate? Is it too high? Can it be reduced? Are there other options? So those are some of the long-term planning that needs to be done. The other thing is, there's a lot of talk on master plan tonight. This should really tie into the master plan also. So as you're working on the master plan, if there's something in the master plan that's not on here, it probably should be considered. Or if there's something on here that the master plan says don't do, just the opposite. And this is a long-term plan.
Mr. Lake?
I applaud this level of detail. I think this is great. This is, I think, makes the conversation a lot easier. I'm actually impressed that we got $400,000 towards these projects, quite honestly, and there's a huge emphasis on the parks, which I know had been vastly underfunded over the past few years. So I'm very pleased to see a lot of focus on the parks through this process. Seeing that, the total allocation needed in 2026, about $135,000 short. We're talking not too much if you shave some off these projects and really scrutinize some of the projects. I mean, obviously, you categorize them based on the Enabling Act. I think it was the Enabling Act that kind of provided this process. Do you think there's room to get that 135, or actually it's 132, it looks like, out by reassessing these projects and saying, is this really what we need to go do? Or, some of them could be swags, they're very round numbers, right? So just curious.
And can I top off what he's saying? I know we're taking bids for pickleball courts. Do we need those? Is it absolutely necessary if we're so far behind and not going to meet the goal?
That's right. All those are all valid questions. You can go through the list. If you start with the big ticket items are going to be playscapes. Do we really want a $200,000 playscape, or, as Craig mentioned in our budget meeting last night, will a metal slide do? Rusty metal slide, I think he mentioned.
Hot in the summer, bro. Didn't you ever play in a park?
I made it.
Kids are probably pretty tough, aren't they, Craig?
They're not tough enough.
When we were kids, we played on rusty sheet metal.
Yeah.
We're going to toughen up Bedford one perk at a time.
Then we have to.
So I'm just wondering, do these things come up in the discussions? How can we build a skateboard park or a pickleball court when we can't even fund what we're going to need to replace in a couple of years?
Those are all valid discussions.
And this is kind of like the Social Security conundrum, There's so many different ways to tweak the numbers. Have the guys gone out into the parks and said, all right, maybe we can get another year or two out of this? Have they reviewed that and updated this?
Yes, the playscapes were reviewed by the manufacturer of playscapes. I think it was called Miracle. And they provided us the years and the numbers. So again, that's from a manufacturer, salesman.
Add 3 years to the life.
And that's kind of why I was leaning towards getting more feedback on the master plan to help guide some of this.
Yeah, I agree.
Might be thinking on our toes and not really following what the overarching desire is for some of these items. I know the pavilions, I think that's something that, from a revenue standpoint, maybe that's something that we could look at. They're pretty popular from my understanding. I think that we could do a little bit better at managing that, though, and taking advantage of that, and definitely maintaining them is important.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you, Pat, in some aspects, because some of the playscapes and whatnot, we've gotten grants to replace them. We don't want to do that all the time, right? Otherwise, you get extremely dated and unsafe playscape equipment. But the question is, do we need, the Cars Grove, it is a very huge playscape, right? What was there before was probably adequate, because I remember I used to live in downtown Temperance as a kid, and, it was sufficient, right? The question is, can we scale back a little bit and still get what we want out of that and be able to fund some of these other projects that are just as important? And that's really the question we have to ask is, okay, I know Miracle might be a great supplier, but maybe there's another supplier that can do just as nice of a project and do it for, 40 grand less, and there's 44 you can take right out of there, apply it to something else. But I think that's the approach. I think it's scrutinized, quite honestly, some of the projects. You get your first swag as, this is the Cadillac, this is what we want. Well, can we just deal with a Chevy? Nothing wrong with a Chevy, just sure.
Anybody else have a question for Mr. Miller? Comments?
I guess.
Mr. Anders?
Yeah, question, what's the next step on this? Are we going to scrutinize item by item as a planning commission?
I would say the next step is master plan. As you're going through your master plan, figure out, does it match this? Or does this match your master plan? If there's something on here, the master plan says don't do, well, take it out. Or there might be something in the master plan say, hey, this is more priority than what's in this list. I would say that's where you spend your most focus first. Then after that is, if you keep these items, or whatever items you do keep, what year do you want to replace them in, and make sure the expected replacement value is accurate. So once we have that, then we can match up the money, and you say, okay, you want this much, we have this much, and then that's when you start ranking them.
And I know the Parks Board has talked about a millage. A survey would be a great place to ask the populace, are you willing to pay $5 a month to have a park or have everything updated? I'm sorry, Mr. Lake.
No, you're fine.
I guess with that, what effect does that have on this plan if that were to happen? Say the Park Board does get a millage in the next election or two. Does that money just get reallocated to other projects in this improvement plan?
Those are all good questions. I would say if they get a millage, it's whatever the millage says. If the millage says we want playscapes or we want this, and then of course the money has to go towards that.
Yeah,
if it's in this plan, it's a one-for-one match. Go ahead.
Can I say something?
Why don't you come up?
Yeah, or the microphone.
Yeah.
George's going to lose his mind.
Parks and Recreation Master Plan. That was adopted, I can't remember the year, it's terrible.
Maybe last year.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there was an extensive survey part of that.
I remember participating in that survey.
Okay, so I mean, there has been a process and I don't know how things came to the list, but I'm sure that there was a reason it came to the list. So I don't know, I think I'd be interested in finding out what your role is in terms of I'm not clear exactly if we are questioning each and every item or if this is the Parks and Recreation Commission review.
Were you concerned about if the millage did get passed, would money be pulled from this to go to somewhere else?
I don't think that's what he's saying.
I was just asking how it would be reallocated. So yeah, I assume if we did a millage, it would be specific, like playscapes, or we're going to put new roofs on the gazebos and whatnot. So there's, I'll say $100,000 assigned to that item. What happens to that money if it's?
Oh, if money's already allocated, what'll happen is, let's say the playscape. We know the life of the playscape, well, we don't know. Let's say it's 20 years or 10 years. That money would stay there, so in 10 years, you'd still have that money.
Okay, so it still stays assigned to that line item?
It would stay, right.
The invested, whatever, kept, okay.
Mr. Lake.
One more comment. So, some of these things that I'm looking at here, right? So I'm just thinking of, and I hate to say these things, but we have to make choices, right? Choices to win as a township, and can we fund everything that we want here, right? So the question is, I think back to, did we really need a cemetery for the township, right? Maybe, maybe not. It's there now. We have to deal with that. But I look at some of these things, and there's some recommendations that we can make. For instance, I'll just kind of pick on Banner Oak School, right? It's a historical mark in the township, but we also had one on Liberty Corner. Township doesn't own that anymore. So the question is, do we need Banner Oak School?
Should we privatize?
Exactly. And then you don't have to worry about every 5 years or however it is making repairs on it. That's $125,000 right there. So those are the things we have to think about in this. You know, sometimes you got to make some hard choices. We can't do everything.
I think we just put a significant amount of money into that building recently, didn't we? Not to go on a tangent, but I thought.
And I'm just using it as an example. I'm not saying that's what we should do, right? So.
Yeah, and that's an area in the master plan where we value history, historical nature of our township. And
what history?
Is that a price you want to pay?
Yeah, exactly.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
Believe me, I have a list. Anyway. So you're going to have to do some tweaking somewhere, one way or another, extend the life of the assets, or raise money. You know, it's a tough task, as you well know.
Can I make one recommendation on this, right? So, sorry, I keep talking, guys.
No, you're good. It's all good.
Here. But, you know, all of these departments, I know we've got essential, desirable. That's what we asked for, and there is a ranking here, right? So we can, if we wanted to, we could say, well, let's cut out 132 for allocation in 2026. We could make that recommendation, right? But what I would love to see some updated numbers if we could, right? Maybe we go back to the Park Commission and say, Park Grove Playscape, $244,000. It's $250,000, right? That goes a long ways. The question is, do we need a playscape of that nature? Can they look at other playscape makers and come up with recommendations? And maybe I've always liked to get 3 bids to triangulate what's the best price for what I want as a township. Make that recommendation. Maybe some suggestions there, and then we can go back and scrutinize this a little bit more. But before it comes back to us, maybe that 132 is already gone, and we're just right down to what we can allocate.
Or is there something we could eliminate altogether?
Exactly. And I'll use the Banner Oak School. I'm just throwing it out there, but that's $125,000 in repairs for something I don't know that the township even uses.
You're on the right path.
I do this for a living. So. What's that?
I'm curious to know what the shortage would be, or shortfall, if we did pick maybe 3 or 4 things. If we could privatize it, get rid of it, then what it would look like. You know, how much would that lower that number? And then we can say, gosh, is that worth it?
Yeah.
I would encourage maybe reach out to one of the park commissions members, board members, and give your thoughts and inputs to them.
Is that?
Mr. Miller and I,
No, who was
the
that guy?
recommendation comes from the Planning Commission to the Township Board, so you are authorized to reach out to a Park Commission member, ask them. They are elected by the public, so absolutely that's part of the process of the CIP.
Yeah, I'll shoot somebody an email and say, if you could eliminate 5 things, what would they be? Let's see what he comes back with.
That's one way to do it.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
it's not just the park, right? And I think we found out last year the parks have been grossly underfunded or basically not funded at all, with the exception of, you know, major millages or whatever. The question I ask is, it's not just the parks. You've got the supervisor, you've got the clerk, right? There's other things in here as well. Because it's got the department on there.
You know, at the parks, I would think there's some creative ways to fund some of these. When I see ADA, grant comes to mind. There's probably grants available for that type of work that if we turned up enough stones, we could find that money and not take it out of our own budget.
Very good point. Good point.
I have a question. I don't know if Mr. Campreth can answer it. He hasn't participated much tonight, so I thought I'd involve him.
Don't sit back.
I'm just curious about, you know, I grew up in Toledo, and is it normal for townships to have their own cemetery? How do those come about? Why are we in the business?
I don't know if it's a business prospect, but I can think that every township we represent has probably 1 to 2 cemeteries, and they're very old. Some of them may not even be maintained and almost lost in thought. It seems like there was one in Frenchtown or Berlin Township that had involved a lawsuit just trying to get public access or even private access to it because it was landlocked for so many decades. So it is a common thing, I believe. Whether it's necessary, probably not. It's more of a, is it important and is it a critical thing for the community?
I can speak that we do get calls still on the cemetery, and I do know our maintenance department still does
It's kept up really well.
keep up and if you'd like, if that's something you want to discuss, I can speak to the clerk's department. But I do believe that people are still
Dying to get in.
utilizing the cemetery.
No secret there.
People are dying to get in there, right? Yeah.
There's a fence around it.
I just wonder, there must be a reason why. I mean, townships don't open up a restaurant, but they'll open up a cemetery. I mean, it's a business.
I think it's been there for a long time, though, but I do believe we still maintain it, and I do believe that maybe residents still own plots that are in that cemetery. I will get clarification for when we come back for the next meeting.
Okay. Anything else? All right.
Anything else? Do you need a motion or anything?
Do you want me to, do you want?
Oh,
Didn't think there was a motion.
make a motion to accept the
Recommendation to the
Recommendation
township
to the
board
township
because
board.
it will go on the budget.
Okay.
I'm going to let Mr. Camprath has something to say, I think. Do you? Okay, then I guess we're okay. Go ahead. I wanted to make sure I wasn't missing something.
Somebody care to make a
Maybe I
motion?
will say something. I don't know if I was under the impression that it's in final form, because you were talking about tweaking things and changing numbers. Is it ready to go to the township board?
Yes.
In its present form?
It was reviewed last night. So any change would be in the next budget, fiscal year 2027, which would be good. It'll give you a chance to review the park master plan.
And explore ways to divest of things if we need to. You know, it's long term or longer than a few months or something. So, anybody care to make a motion to recommend the CIP as presented?
I think I was a little confused on the topic, but yeah, I think I'm willing to make a recommendation, but I guess what I would ask is, can we see this sooner in the process to maybe make some recommendations prior to a final plan?
Well, I believe the township board is working on the budget for 2026.
Yeah. In your policy concerning this, you're supposed to submit this to me by January. So basically, I sent emails reminding you 6 months in advance, get working on this, get working on this. I didn't get any response. So it's like I tell the other department heads, if you don't provide a budget, one will be provided for you.
I apologize, but I don't know if I've ever received anything.
Well, it was probably sent to the chair and planning department.
When we came up with the risk assessment, we met on this multiple times last year and came up with the risk assessment, the rankings. We received input from different commission members. Was that for last year's budget or for, that's what we're seeing now?
Well, keep in mind, we've been working on this for 2 full years of actually defining exactly what should be in the CIP. I will say, I did not remember, as Mr. Mahoney did not remember getting anything further other than just the most recent one that we spoke on and the one that was provided to me, the first packet, and then Katrina sent the updated one. So we will continue to work on it. I think moving forward with the master plan and the CIP at the same time is good because it does say in the master plan it's in conjunction. So I think you are right that we were looking at it. We made a recommendation last year, and we are moving forward. However, Park Board changed in December. We had new members. We were not getting any information from the Park Board. So it is difficult when you see most of the essential items are from the Park Commission, and when they were all just reelected and took office at the end of the year.
Well, it's cool. I think the Park Commission got a nice legacy to move forward. This is the perfect avenue for parks. But yeah, I think just seeing this earlier in the process, I think, to help us make recommendations would be great.
Could we maybe if we do go ahead and, because I think that the board needs to continue and get the budget finalized, right? But the main thing is we're saving this money. We could strike stuff over the course of this year. Maybe we could set up a meeting or figure out a good time for a workshop to further discuss these for next year's budget. But the main thing, like, we're saving the money, as I understand it. We can strike.
Correct. It's being put aside through the budget right now. And we can put this on the agenda anytime you want to send me something that requests it to be on the agenda for the Planning Commission to discuss. Absolutely, we can continue to work on it. We can put it on any item, any agenda for discussion purposes.
Mr. Miller, we have a pretty healthy general fund, right?
Well, we just had the budget meeting last night. Craig can elaborate. Would you like to, or would you like me to?
My question is, I'm just wondering.
Well, I'll answer your question.
Okay, you know where I'm going.
Know where you're going. It's just like this budget. We have more plans for items than we have money. There is a healthy general fund, but it's all committed, and we are not saving enough to accomplish all projects.
And interest rates are dropping.
We invest conservatively, so it's not like, we're consistent right around 4%, our investments.
Right now.
Right now.
They were 5% a year ago.
They were a little higher.
Yeah.
But we are putting money away, we are investing it. It is staying here. But to answer your direct question, this money, the money you saw, the $400,000, did come out of the general fund.
Okay.
That's where it comes from.
Check in.
Yeah, it's a good chunk.
You're just aching.
I'll make a motion.
Go for it.
Yeah, I'll make a motion. We will approve, or I guess approve for recommendation for the board to review the current CIP plan as stated.
Is there support?
I'll support.
Mr. Andrews supports. Mr. Andrews, can you take a roll call, please?
Mr. Lake?
Yes.
Mr. Andrews says aye. Mr. Trombley?
Aye.
Mr. Montry?
Aye.
Mr. Dersch?
Aye.
Mr. Mahoney?
Aye. Okay, motion passes unanimously. Thanks, Mr. Miller.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to item 10, commission/staff comment. We'll start with you, Mr. Trombley.
Nothing from me.
Mr. Montry.
Nothing from me.
Mr. Dersch.
Nothing for me.
Mr. Lake.
Good.
I'll just say I think it's a good thing to think in terms of being more intentional than reactionary when somebody wants something changed in an ordinance or a zoning. Maybe all this development will happen in time, but until then, we have to stick to our guns as close as possible when these requests come before us, I guess. So anyway, Mr. Andrews.
I was just going to maybe throw something out there, looking for thoughts from the board. Do we want to just plan on tentatively, like, quarterly talking about the CIP?
Love that idea. Yeah.
And maybe bringing in someone from Parks to talk about line items, or
That's a
maybe
good
the next
idea.
meeting could be supervised, something like that.
On a meeting that doesn't have a whole lot to talk about.
Yeah, right.
It's bedtime.
I like that idea.
Just a thought.
Inspector, you could probably organize something. I don't know.
I wrote it down.
Okay, perfect. Ms. Ingram.
I just want to advise that if you go on the website under government and then boards and commissions, if you go to Park Commission, that Parks and Rec master plan, which was adopted in 2024 through 2028, is available on the website.
Awesome. Thank you. Mr. Camperth?
Nothing.
Ms. Rector?
Just want to remind, we will be having a meeting on April 23rd from the deferment from the rezoning request from Samaria Road. As of now, that is the only item on the agenda. And then don't forget to fill out your form for Ms. Fortin and have it back to me on that meeting so I can attend. If you are not going to be at the May 14th meeting, if something comes up, please let me know as soon as possible. Thank you and have a good evening.
Awesome. With that, we'll adjourn. It is 8:44.
Did I miss?